Hi everyone, welcome to this week's webinar. Hope you're having a productive day so far. And this week we are going to be having a very interesting and practical webinar. It promises to be as practical as possible. I'm going to be doing a very brief introduction and we'll get right into it. So for those meeting me for the first time, my name is Oluwatobi Dali, but you can call me Toby Dali. I prefer to be called Toby. I'm an advanced financial modeler and I'm also a trainer at D Brown Consulting. I'm also a financial modeling and valuation analyst and amongst other qualifications as well. I've trained several clients and I've worked with several clients across, consulting and training as well. This is just to mention a few things about D Brown Consulting. So this webinar is hosted by D Brown Consulting, and basically there are two things we do here at D Brown Consulting. We train and we consult. So with the training basically, you learn the data skills you need to enhance your productivity. And for consulting, we help clients develop agile business processes with Power Platforms and Microsoft 365. Okay, so today we're going to be having, as I said, we're going to be having a very practical session. And basically, this session is focused on building dynamic assumption blocks. It's focused on building dynamic assumption blocks. I would like to ask, does anyone have an idea of what dynamic assumption block is? Has anyone used dynamic assumption block? Anybody? Just type in the chats. Have you used dynamic assumption block before? Are you familiar with dynamic assumption block? So most of us may not know it as dynamic assumption block, but we might have used it before, but some of us may not be familiar with the term dynamic assumption block. Okay, Anthony has used dynamic assumption block before. Can you just type what you've used it for? What have you used it for? What have you used dynamic assumption block for? Okay, so in a few minutes, I'll just be, talking about dynamic assumption blocks and what they are. For those of us that are not familiar with what dynamic assumption blocks are. So basically, dynamic assumption blocks is a contiguous structured, group of model inputs, rows, and columns, designed. So basically, this contiguous structured group of model inputs and rows are designed so your assumptions can be flexible. You can have inputs that can be referenced consistently, using the same naming logic. And as well, the model remains readable, scalable, and auditable as well. So basically, there are some basic rules you need to follow, when making use of the dynamic assumption block. And the major rule you need to follow is the continuity rule. And as I said earlier, for dynamic assumption block, it has to be contiguous. It has to be contiguous. What do I mean? So a dynamic assumption block, I'm just going to call it DAB. You can call it DAB. So it's the short form of dynamic assumption block. So basically, a dynamic assumption block should be a continuous block with no empty rows or cells in between. So if there's an empty column or empty row in between, and it's no longer a block, it's no longer a block. And I'm going to tell you why it has to be a continuous block. You don't have to have empty rows or empty columns in between. So if you have empty rows or empty columns, it's going to break to block. And why does this matter? It matters because the road is being counted because when we're doing our calculation, we're going to make use of lookup functions, and we don't want to have spill errors and the likes. So another thing you would want to know about the dynamic assumption block is the naming convention. As I said, I'm just giving us a background knowledge of what dynamic assumption block is. We're still going to, go into the practical aspect of it using a very simple and basic case study so we can all grasp what dynamic assumption block is. So for our dynamic assumption block, we make use of what's it called a naming convention. It's actually recommended. So the heading of your role is always named. There's a named range, and then you start with the letter H for the heading role. For the details of your blog, you're going to start with D. So D stands for details. So you're going to start with D, then underscore. Why for each, there are specific columns, that are drivers in the block. So for those columns, you name the range L. You name the range L. So aside from that, there are also naming rules. There are naming rules. Try as much as possible to use prefix plus descriptive names. Another thing you want to do is you want to avoid vague names. For instance, you don't want to name the heading D heading. You don't want to name it the heading, or you don't, sorry, for heading, I said you use H. You don't want to name the heading H heading. You don't want to name the, what's it called, the details of your assumptions. You don't want to name it D assumptions or D inputs. It has to be very descriptive. So it's something like D loan. For the heading, you use something like H underscore heading, or H underscore loan rather. So as much as possible, you want to keep the names business meaningful. What do I mean by that? As I said, for the heading, you want something like H underscore loan. I'm using loan as an example because loan is going to be our case study, or we have a case study on loan. So since we're using loan as a case study, for the details of our inputs, you use D underscore loan. So I'm just going to get right into the case study because of our time. This is like the most important part of this session. So I'm going to get right into the case study. So let's read through the case study before we start building. Let's read through before we start building. So, as I said, this case study is focused on loan. We're using the dynamic assumption block to build a very dynamic loan schedule, very dynamic loan schedule. And basically, the case study is based on what's it called? The three different types of loan. So you have bullets, you have amortized, and you have what's it called now? So basically, a company has raised three separate debt facilities to finance its operations. Each facility has different repayment characteristics. You are required to build a loan schedule for each facility. And we're giving general assumptions. The currency is Naira, and the interest is calculated annually on the what's it called on the loan balance. All loans are fully drawn at the start of year one, and you ignore fees, repayments, and refinancing. So for loan one is an amortized loan. Loan two is a bullet loan, and loan three is a capitalized loan. So for loan one, the amount is 200 million. The interest rate 18% per annum. The tenure is 5 years. No moratorium. The repayments, you have equal annual principal repayments every year. For the bullets loan, the loan amount is 150 million naira. The interest rate is 16%. The tenure is 4 years, moratorium, no moratorium. Then for the repayments, principal is repaid in full at maturity. you know, which is basically a bullet loan. So for the capitalized loan, the assumption is the repayment is amortized after moratorium. And then the loan amount is 120 million. The interest rate is 19%, the tenure 6 years, moratorium. First 2 years, your interest treatment during moratorium. Now, this is very important part of this part of the case study. For capitalized loan, interest is capitalized and added to the loan balance. While for repayment after moratorium, principal is repaid in equal annual installments over the remaining tenure, and then basically which is basically 3 to 6 years. Yeah, 3 to 6. So interest is paid in cash from year 3 onward after the capitalization. And basically, what I'm required to do is to prepare a loan schedule for each facility using the dynamic assumption block. So we're going to jump right into building our dynamic assumption block. What's it called? Dynamic assumption block in Excel now. Going to open a blank workbook. I'm going to open a blank workbook so we can jump right into building. So another thing I would like to mention is, dynamic dynamic assumption block. Okay. So another thing I'd like to mention about the dynamic assumption block is that the dynamic for dynamic assumption block it's not every time you make use of the dynamic assumption block. It's not in all cases you make use of the dynamic assumption block. Okay, so I'm just going to bring up the case study again since most of us did not see the case study. So basically, this is our case study, and as I said, the case study is based on three different loan types: amortized loan, the bullet loan, and the capitalized loan, which is the ABC. You can call it the ABC. So the first loan for amortized loan, you have your interest rates. The tenure is 5 years. Repayment is equal annual principal repayments over the 5 year period. While for bullet loan, the principal is repaid in full at maturity. Why is he paying the interest over the loan tenure? For capitalized loan, the moratorium period is the first 2 years, and for the treatment during moratorium, interest is capitalized and added to the loan balance. While for repayment after moratorium, principal is repaid in equal annual installments over the remaining tenure, which is year 3 to 6. While for your interest is paid in cash, from year 3 onward. So from year 1 to 2, which is the moratorium period, the interest the interest for year 1 to year 2 will be accrued. So in year 3, the accrued interest will be paid in cash. So I'm just going to open a blank workbook now. As I said, it's going to be as practical as possible. We're starting from the scratch. We're starting from scratch. And yeah, before I shared the case study again, I was saying that it's not in all cases you make use of the dynamic assumption block. There are instances where your inputs are fixed over the years. For instance, you don't need what's it called now? You don't need a dynamic assumption block for things like for things like interest. No, for things like tax rates. Tax rate is fixed over what's it called, your model period. So you don't need a dynamic assumption block for things like tax rate. Also for assumptions that are just 3 lines or 3 rows, you don't need to build a dynamic assumption block for that. You don't use a dynamic assumption block for that. So basically, these dynamic assumption blocks just makes our inputs or assumptions easier. It makes it easy to edit, and let's just get right into it. And let me just leave talking aside. So as I said, we are building from scratch. We are building from the scratch, and first thing, the first thing we want to do is the first thing we want to do is I'm going to work on the dynamic assumption block. So based on our modeling structure, we reduce the size of the first three columns because these are known as what's it called? These are known as the heading columns. So these columns are known as the heading columns. Then in column D, I'm going to change the format of these. I want to give it the heading style. So I need a quick heading style, which is a table heading. I'm going to create a new style. So I want the font to be white. I can also make this bold as well. Can make this bold as well. Okay, so the first column will be my loan type. I have my loan type, and if I go back to my case study, I want to see other informations. I want to see the other informations I need. So basically, what we are doing is we're extracting all the inputs in our case study. We want to extract it and make sure it's in a single block. Want to make sure it's in a single block. So I'm just going to do that quickly. I'm going to extract all the informations. So we are starting with amortized loan. The first loan type is amortized loan. The first type of loan is amortized loan. So you have your amortized loan. Just to make this a bit easier for all of us to understand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an ID. I'm going to insert the ID first. I'm going to insert the ID because we have three different loan types. So each loan type we have a different ID. We have the ID, we have the loan type. Then what other detail do we need? We need the loan name ID. This wasn't given in the case study. We're just going to make an assumption for this. What other assumptions do we have? We have the issue year. We have the issue year. Then the loan amount, the interest rates, the loan tenor, and the moratorium. Okay, so we don't need these two columns. I'm going to expand these two. I'm going to expand all these columns. So this, we're going to give this ID. This is going to be ID1. So I'm going to explain later why we need the ID. I'm going to explain later why we need the ID. First, I just want to extract all the assumptions. So for the loan name ID, we can just assume, because this is amortized loan. Let's just assume the loan name ID. This is 001. Then the issue year from our case study is 2016. So I'm not sure this was given in our case study, but let's just make the assumption. And the loan amounts from our case study, 200 million. The interest rate is 18%. And the loan tenure 5 years. So I'm going to format this particular column because I want it to be specific. So we have 5 year. I want it to show 5 years. So instead of just five, whoever picks up this model, I want the person to know, what we have in this cell is a year. So what I'm going to do is Control 1 to open the cell format dialog box. Then I go to number. So basically, what you're seeing is 5 years, but what is actually in this cell is 5 and not 5 years. The moratorium period is 0 for the amortized loan. I'm going to copy the cell format for the loan tenor cell and Alt EST to paste the format. I'm going to go to the next loan. The next loan is a bullet loan. So the ID for this is going to be 2 bullets. And the loan name ID for this, let's give it a name, B002. The issue here, let's assume 2016. Then the loan amount, as given in our case study, is 150 million. The interest rate is 16%. 4 years, moratorium 0. Then the third loan is capitalized. Capitalized. I need to expand this column. We can give this a loan ID. Let's assume this is C 003. So let's assume this is C003, the issue year 2016 as well. So by the time we're done with this, if our model is dynamic, then if we change the issue year, it's going to flow into our model. So we're going to test that once we are done with the dynamic assumption block, and then once we build the loan schedule. So for loan amount for the capitalized loan, the loan amount is 120 million, and okay, this is 16%, and the interest rate is 19%. Loan tenure fixed, 6 years, moratorium 2 years. So we are done. We are done with all our inputs. So what we now need to do is we need to name. We need to name certain cells and certain rows in our model. So basically, the rows we are naming are the key drivers. What we need to build our loan schedule. So the first thing we need to name is we need to name this. We need to name the ID. We need to name the ID. And remember what I said about naming. Remember what I said about the naming convention for edit. If you are naming the heading, you start with H. You start with H underscore loan. In this case, if you are naming a list, for instance, this is a list. It is vertical. You have one, two, three. It's a list. So you start with L underscore loan. If you are naming the details, so the details of this particular what's it called, dynamic assumption block. These are the details. Everything you need to build your loan schedule. These are the details. So I'm just going to name the rows and columns I need to name now. So I'm going to name this L underscore loan, L underscore loan, then my heading H underscore loan. For the description, I'm going to name it D underscore loan. Yeah, D underscore loan. What else do I need to name? Okay, I also need to name the loan name ID. I need to name the loan name ID as well. So I'm going to name this because this is a list. I start with L underscore name ID, L underscore name ID. So we are done with naming our dynamic assumption block. So basically what you're seeing here is the dynamic assumption block. So this is peculiar to what's it called? The loan case study. So for other use cases, your dynamic assumption block will definitely have more details than this what's it called? This basic loan case study. So ideally, I should have the schedule on what's it called on another sheet, but because I want us to follow through and see how I'm connecting the dynamic assumption block to the schedule, I'm going to have the schedule on this same sheet. Or ideally, I should have it on another sheet. So down here, I'm going to have the period. I'm going to have the period. I need to expand this. I'm going to have the period counter. Then I have the year. So for the year, I'm just going to, because this is an example. We don't have assumptions for the beginning period. I'm just going to add code. It's not a fully built out model. So I'm going to encode the year. So 2027, okay, 2027, 2028. I can then highlight these drag to the right. Then for the period counter is going to be the previous cell plus one. As I said, we're not building a fully built out model. We are just focusing on the schedule, so we can we can skip, this year, using or linking it to our guide sheets as we advise, using the or following the fast standard. So let's start with our schedule. The first one is amortized loan. So basically, what we want to do is I'm just going to build out one schedule, and I'm going to once I'm done building, I'm going to highlight it and copy it down, drag it down. So if I do that, it's going to calculate what's it called the schedule for bullet and capitalized. If it's flexible enough, that's going to be the test. That's going to be the test. So the first thing I want to do is insert the ID. I'm going to insert the ID here, which is loan. Then what I want to do is now I want to extract the loan name ID. I'm going to do that using the XLOOKUP function. I'm going to do that using the XLOOKUP function. So this is going to be XLOOKUP. What are we looking up? What is the lookup value? The lookup value is going to be the ID. Then lookup array is going to be the loan name ID. Our return array, what's going to be our return array? Okay, we have our lookup value. Our lookup value is okay. Our lookup value should be okay. This is wrong. Our lookup value should be the loan ID. Should be the loan ID. And our return array should be the uh, the loan name ID. So here we have it. Just going to underline Control Z. I'm going to give this a border. Then I want to extract all necessary information we need. So we're going to have, because we have to make this as dynamic and as flexible as possible, we're going to be using what's it called? Flags. We're going to be using about 5 different flags. We're going to use about 5 different flags. And the first thing we need is the issue year. We need to extract the issue year. Then we need to extract the loan type. The loan type, we need a flag to know if it's a bullet loan. So we need a flag for bullets. So this is bullet flag. We need a capitalized flag. We also need a flag for moratorium. So basically, this moratorium flag is the same as repayment flag. It's the same as repayment flag. We need the first active flag, which is basically the first active period flag. and we need the last period flag. We need the last period flag. So the issue here is, how do we get the issue here? We're going to use, for the issue here, we're going to use a combination of index and match function. We're going to use a combination of index and match function. So index, what's our array? Our array is the loan, where we have the issue here. Then our row number will be one. Our loan ID, yeah. Our loan, our what's it called? Row number will be one. Then the column ID, we use match. We use match to get the column ID. Then the lookup value using match is going to be, we're looking for the issue here. We're looking for the issue here, and the lookup array, our lookup array will be the heading H loan. You see how easy it is now because we've already named important cells and rows in our dynamic assumption block. So I can just type the name and then it comes up. And we want an exact match. So this is our year. Then the loan type as well, we want to extract the loan type. We're going to use index and match function as well. All I need to do is Control D. Formula is flexible. That's why I'm able to use Control D. I want this aligned to the right, so Alt H A R. That's the shortcut to align to the right. And let's go to our flags. Let me just give this the description. This is a year. The loan type is, this is a flag. So all these are flags. All these are flags. Moratorium is a year. Then first and active, these are flags as well. So for the first flag, basically this first flag is to know if this is a bullet loan. The first flag is to know if this is a bullet loan. There are two parts. There are two parts to this formula. And the first one is saying if this is a bullet loan, and the second one is saying if this is a bullet loan, then we must pay. What's it called? If this is a bullet loan, is this also the last period? You know, for bullet loan, the principal is always paid, you know, at the last period, the last year. For instance, the first one is 5 years. So we're expected to pay the principal in year 5. So how do I do that? I'm going to say equal to what we have here, the loan type. So I'm going to lock the column because as I said, all I need to do is just calculate for one and drag down or copy down. It's going to calculate the schedule for bullet and capitalized. So I'm going to lock the row. I'm saying is this equal to bullets? Is this equal to bullets? If this is equal to bullets, it's going to return false. But I want this to be a value because it's a flag. Flag has to be either 1 or 0. So I'm going to insert I'm going to insert double negative signs here. So what this does is it converts true or false to values. So it converts true to 1 and converts false to 0. The second part of this flag calculation is I'm going to multiply. I want to know if this is the what's it called the last period, the last period. As I said, principal is always paid, at the last period, which is when the tenure ends. So how do I do this? I'm going to say As I said, I want it to convert false or true to negative to values. Going to include the double negative sign. I'm going to say the current year, 2026. I'm going to lock the role because I don't want the role to change when I drag down. I'm going to lock the role. So I'm saying is this equal to the issue year? I'm saying is this equal to the issue year? I'm going to log I'm going to log the colon for this. Is it equal to the issue year plus what's it called? Tenor. Okay, I've not extracted the tenor, so I'm going to pause here and extract the tenor first. I'm going to pause here and extract all the details we need before we start building. So other details we need to extract, we need the loan amount. We need our loan amount. So most times it's the first schedule, building the first schedule that takes time. Once we're done with that, we are good to go. All we need to do is just, drag down and we can even add more inputs to our dynamic assumption block. So we need the interest rates, and the loan tenor. Also for our schedule, the beginning, this is what our schedule is going to look like. It's going to have the beginning balance, the, the issued amount, principal repayment. It's going to have the principal repayment, the interest repayment, and here accrued interest. So we have the ending balance. So for our loan amount, I'm just going to copy this formula. I'm going to copy this formula and just edit it. I'm going to link this to our ID. Link this to our ID as well. The loan tenor link to the ID as well. So this is the percentage. Just going to copy the cell style and paste. Same for this as well. Copy the cell style. Just make things faster. Okay, we can then go ahead and complete the flag. Where did we stop? So, as I said, a double negative sign because we want to convert true to 1 and false to 0. So what I'm saying is the issue here, I'm locking the row. The issue here is it equal to, sorry, this should be the what's it called, the period, the current period. I'm saying is it equal to the issue here? As usual, I'm going to lock the column for this plus our loan tenor. I'm going to lock the column as well. -1. So basically, if you want to get the period difference between 2 years, it's maybe you want to find the period between 2027 and 2025. You have to include -1. So you say 2027 minus 20. 2025 minus 1. So if you want to add two periods, is 20, let's say 2016 plus 5 years, minus 1 to get the accurate period. I'm going to close this. So if I drag this to the right, I'm only expected to have, what's it called, 1. It's only supposed to return 1, where it's a bullet loan and at the end of the period. So for the bullet loan, it's going to return 1 in year 4 because that's the end of the period which we're expected to pay the principal. Because of our time, let's go straight to building other flags. So we are done with the bullet flag. We are done with the bullet flag. Now we move to the capitalized flag. Okay, this should be, yeah. So for the capitalized flag, we are going to say, yeah, equal to negative sign, because basically we see double negative signs to convert true to 1 and false to 0. Is the current year, is it greater or equal to the issue year plus our, what's it called now? Our loan tenure. Okay, in this case, because it's capitalized flag, it's not plus the loan tenure, it's plus the moratorium period. Moratorium period. I'm going to lock the column as well. I need to extract moratorium period. So this is 0. This is a capitalized flag, and this is an amortized loan. So this should be this should be 0. This should be 0. Capitalized loan should be 0. So I'm just going to check. I'm going to check the formula. Okay. I guess I'm just going to move this up. I guess I'm doing something wrong. Okay, this is a capitalized flag. It's going to be somewhat similar to our bullet flag. Yeah, I made a mistake. So this is supposed to be the double negative sign. Something similar to the bullet stone we are saying is the issue here, or rather the loan type. I lock the column. Is it equal to capitalized? Just as we did for bullets. Is it equal to capitalized? This should return 0. Yeah, this is correct. So for our repayment flag, which is a moratorium, this formula of which I mixed up with the capitalized flag, this is our moratorium flag. Then for our active period flag, this is similar to our moratorium flag. What this is saying is the current year is it equal to the what's it called, the issue year. I'm going to lock the column plus the moratorium. Okay, this should be in brackets. Then for the last period flag, Basically, this period is, the last period for each of the loans. So basically, what this helps us to achieve is the loan shouldn't exceed the loan tenure. That's why we are using this particular flag. So this is saying the current period, which is 2026, is it equal to the issue year plus the loan tenure minus one. So I can copy to the right. So I'm going to quickly format this. I'm going to quickly format these cells. I'm going to use the conditional formatting. So what I want is I want the cell to be green. I want it to be green if it is true. So if this is equal to 1, and I'm going to add another one. If it is equal to 0, if it is equal to 0, it should be red. So instead of showing 0, I just want this to be a little bit, I want it to be neater than this. So I'm going to go to custom. So basically what I'm doing is just to make this neat. Don't want some decimals here. Don't want decimals here. And we are good to go. So basically, what I'm doing is just to make it neat. And we are done with our flags. Let's go straight to building the schedule. The first is beginning balance. For beginning balance, is going to be the ending balance of the previous period. For issued loan, we are going to use the if statement. For issued loan, we're saying if in the current year, if it is equal to the issue year, if it is equal to the issue year, return the loan amount. and if it is not, return 0. Then the next line item is principal repayments. This is where the main work is. This is where the main work is, because as I said, we're trying to make this as flexible. We're trying to make it as flexible as possible. So we're going to make use of at least two if statements. No, the maximum if statement we're going to use is two. Yeah, because we already have flags. Assuming we're not making use of flags, we would use more than two if statements. But the flags already make things easy for us. So for the principal repayments, basically this if this is a bullet loan, the principal repayment is going to be, at the end of the year, which is or at the end of the what's it called, the last tenure. If it's amortized, the repayment to be equal. It's going to be installment, but it's going to be equal across the loan tenure. While if it is capitalized, it's going to principal repayments is going to be after the moratorium period. So the formula we're going to use has to take into consideration all these things. It has to take into consideration all these things. As I said, we're going to make use of two if statements. So for the principal repayments, we're going to say if, so basically let me just explain the formula or you know, before I go right into it. So for the principal repayment, what we're saying is, we are saying is what's it called now? Is the loan type for this particular loan. For instance, this is amortized. We're saying, is it equals to bullets? If it is not equal to bullets, then what this is going to do is going to take the loan amount, multiply it, is going to multiply it by, I'm sorry, rather, what I meant is if this particular loan type, if it is equal to bullets, principal repayments will be at the end of the last loan tenure, which is, it's 5 years. So in this case, if you count 5 years from 2026, you have how many years now? One, two, three, four, five. So you're expected to have loan repayment in 2030. Let's assume this is a bullet loan. Well, because this is amortized loan, I'm just using the bullet as an example. So the first if statement is saying if the loan type is bullet, then you take the loan amount times what's it called now? Times your bullet flag. If it is not equal to bullet, then it's going to use another if statement. It's using another if statement, and basically for the second if statement, we are saying we are taking the last period flag. We are taking the last period flag. We are saying, is this last period flag equal to 1? If it is equal to 1, code, we are telling it to add the beginning balance plus the issued period. So it's adding the beginning balance plus the issued period if it is equal to 1. So this part of the formula ensures our repayment does not exceed the loan tenor. It ensures our prepayment does not exceed the loan tenor. So if it is not equal to 1, we're going to make use of a main function. So the main function is saying take a minimum take a minimum of the beginning balance plus the issued amount, and it's going to compare that to the loan amount times 1 plus your interest rate, raised to power, the flag for your capitalized, the flag for your capitalized, and the flag for repayment moratorium. Once it does that, it's now going to divide it by the maximum of 1 and your, what's it called now, your loan tenor minus your moratorium period. So once he has gotten the minimum, he multiplies by your moratorium period. So basically, this formula, is to calculate your bullet loan, your capitalized loan, and the amortized loan, the principal repayments for each of these loans. So I'm just going to demonstrate that now for repayment. So the first if statement is saying is our loan type is equal to bullets. If it is equal to bullets, then you take the loan amount, times the loan flag, or the bullet flag rather. Okay, since this is a flag, we don't need to lock anything. Then if it is not, we use another if statement. The last period flag is equal to 1. If it is not equal to 1, add the beginning balance plus, or if it is equal to 1 rather, the beginning balance plus issued amount. If it is not equal to 1, then you take the loan amount, F4. Okay, I said we're supposed to use a main function. So we're going to make use of a main function here. Take the minimum of the beginning balance plus the issued amount. So it's the minimum of this and the minimum of where do we have our last period? Okay, we have our loan amount here. We're linking to our loan amount again. So I just have to be careful. I just have to be careful with the referencing, because if I make a mistake in any referencing and I copy it down, it's going to affect the schedule. So I have to be very careful with it. So I'm multiplying by 1 minus or 1 plus the interest rates. I'm locking the column. Then raised to power the capitalized flag times our moratorium flag, which is basically our repayment flag. Then we divide by the maximum of 1 and where do we have our loan tenor? Loan tenor minus moratorium. Then I'm going to multiply by the moratorium flag. So I just want to ensure I have not referenced the moratorium flag. We are supposed to reference the moratorium period. So moratorium Okay, I don't think there's a mistake. So I need to ensure this is done, correctly. As I said, if I do this right and I drag it down or copy it down, it should be accurate. It should be accurate. I'm just checking for mistakes. Okay, this should multiply by the moratorium period and not the flag. Where else? Okay, and I think we are good. We are good to go. EST to paste the function, to paste the cell style. Then for our interest repayment, this should be interest payment, not interest repayment. For our interest payment, so basically we're going to say one minus, this is one minus our capitalized flag times one minus our moratorium flag times our beginning balance plus issued amount times we're going to multiply by the interest rate. The interest rate, the interest rate plus our flag, the first active period flag. Then we're going to multiply by the sum of our accrued interest. Yeah, we're going to multiply by the sum of our accrued interest. So basically, I need to reference the accrued interest twice. And the way we do that is you include, what's it called? You, after referencing the accrued period, you lock the first reference. Okay, I should lock the second instead. I just have to be very careful with this. So okay, there's a mistake. I lock the first reference, the second one rather. So you just have to be careful when you're doing the first one, so it can be accurate. I'm just going to ensure I haven't made any mistake. Oh, there's a mistake. There's a mistake here. This should be one. One minus the flag. Okay. Multiplied by this. So this is the part of building your schedule that actually takes more time. I don't need a bracket here. Control C of EST to paste the cell style. Then for our accrued interest, this one is quite straightforward. Don't need as many formulas. So for our accrued period, we are saying we are saying is our capitalized flag. We multiply our capitalized flag by one minus our moratorium period, or moratorium flag rather. Then we multiply by our beginning balance plus issued amount times the interest rate. Then for our ending balance, our ending balance is going to be the beginning balance plus the amount, issued amount minus the principal repayment plus accrued interest. I think I've made a mistake. So beginning balance, I'm going to do that again. Beginning balance plus the issued amount minus the principal repayment, yeah, minus, sorry, plus accrued interest. Yeah, we don't need the interest repayments in calculating the ending balance. I'm going to give this the total sales style. But before I do that, I want to copy to the right. So what I want is for this to, I don't want to see zero, it's negative. Just going to edit this briefly. I don't want to see negative, but I don't want to see zero rather. I need the comma separator. So we are almost done. As I said, the most complex part is building just one schedule. That's what actually takes time. So we're almost done. All I need to do is just do a little bit of formatting, cell formatting, and I'm going to copy it down. Then for the ending balance, I want to give it the total sales time. So let's see if our model is flexible. Let's see how flexible it is. Well, before I do that, this is the Naira value, percentage, year, all this show have the Naira sign. Then I'm going to highlight the first loan, including the schedule. Then I'm going to highlight one more row. Going to highlight one more row. Then go to the edge. And all I need to do is drag it down. So all we need is just 3. So we have three loans, and you can see our schedule. We have our schedule. Let's go to our bullet loan. If you go to your bullet loan, you know your principal repayment should be in year four. Let's see, when was the principal repayment made? Year four. One, two, three, four. Let's go to our capitalized loan. Principal repayment should start in year three. After moratorium, you can see it's accurate. Interest rate as well, year three, you see it's accurate. Then for year four, no, the default loan, it's like this because we don't have assumptions for this. But you can as well do that here. Let me just do that. I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add one more, just to show you our dynamic assumption block is working as it should. But before I do that, I need to extend the range. So I'm going to go to formula. I'm going to go to formula, then name manager, the details. I'm going to edit. I'm going to extend the what's it called? The column reference by one. So this should be it. The list. I'm going to extend this by one as well. So this should be 9. Then the list name ID, going to extend by 1. So this should be 9. So let's assume we have another loan 4, capitalized. Let's just use the same example as the third loan. So this should work. If I go to formula, go to name manager, there's something I did not extend. Okay, yeah, this should be 9 instead, column 9. One more thing is missing. Let me go to the ID, formula name manager. For you, this is column 6 to 9. This is correct. 6 to 9 as well. Heading. This is accurate as well. Then the list. This is accurate. This is accurate as well. We have 6 to 9. So I'm just going to look at what the problem is for this particular loan. So this is X lookup is looking at the ID, then the loan list, L list, then the name ID. So the problem is coming from the L loan and name ID. So I'm going to, oh, this is the problem. If you look at the ID, this should be 4. This should be 4 instead. This is where the problem is coming from. This should be 4 instead. So if I highlight 3, loan 3, and I drag this down. So basically, if you want to fill out, if you have more loans, all you need to do is just drag down, extend the name range for the name cells, and it's going to fill up. So you can see loan four. You have everything in loan four. You know, the most amazing thing about, I'm just going to delete this. The most amazing thing about this schedule is I can convert this first loan to show you how flexible and dynamic it is. I can convert it to bullets. So if I change this to bullet loan, before I do that, I'm going to go to data validation. So I just want this to be a list. So it's going to, it's either it's amortized, bullets, or capitalized. So I can go here, select amortized, or EST. Yeah, so as I was saying, I can convert this to bullets. If I convert this to bullets, if I go to loan one, you know, it was formerly amortized. You can see it has changed. The principal repayment is now in the last year, which is the end of what's it called, the loan tenure, year five. If I change it to capitalized, it should change as well. Okay, there's a mistake in the spelling. Just going to edit that again. Capitalized. Okay, so if I change this capitalized, it should have moratorium period. So let's add two. You see, as I change the moratorium period to two, the flags automatically changed as well. The flags automatically changed as well. And as you can see, the principal repayment now starts in year three, and interest repayment as well starts in year three. So our dynamic assumption block is functioning as it should. And I've demonstrated how flexible and how time saving this could be. All I need to do was to spend time on the first schedule and I like it drag to the right. There are some dynamic assumption block schedules that are dynamic assumption blocks rather that are more complex than this. No, based on the number of drivers you have, based on the number of drivers you have. So this is what our dynamic assumption block looks like, and this is what it can do. Just one of the things it can do. So well done everyone for waiting till the end. Well done for waiting till the end. So just to mention some other things you can make use of, some other things you can make use of the what's it called, the dynamic assumption block schedules or dynamic assumption block for is you can, if you work in asset management, what's it called, pension, you can as well leverage this block as well, you know, to calculate your managed funds, your RSAs and the likes. So I'm going to open what's it called, the floor up now for questions. If you have questions, you can ask your questions. Do we have questions? Do you have questions? Do we have questions? I'm waiting for questions. Do we have questions? Okay, since there are no questions, before we go briefly, I just want to tell you about FMA, which is a financial model in academy. And like I said, I would like to tell you about the scholarship program, which was created in partnership, with Debra Consulting. So it's a partnership with Debra Consulting and the Financial Modeling Institute based in Canada. And registration are currently open for the June 2026 cohort. And it actually begins on the 8th of June 2026. If you're interested in building strong, practical financial modeling skills, in a structured and hands-on way, this is a great opportunity for you. And then just to inform you or let you know, I'm a product of the Financial Modeling Academy. I'm a product of the Financial Modeling Academy. And I'm able to do all these things I'm doing because I'm a product of the Financial Modeling Academy. And then just add to what I've said, the registration deadline is April 30th, and then you would want to complete your applications before then if you're interested. The link to get started will be displayed right below your screen, and my colleagues will also be sharing the links in the chat. So while the video is going to pop up shortly, and while that is going on, I just want to say a very big thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you all in the FMA June 2026 cohort.
Hello, I'm David Brown. I'm here to talk to you about the Financial Modeling Academy Scholarship for Africa. We're so proud to bring this to you in partnership with Financial Modeling Institute. This completely crashes the price of the wonderful Financial Modeling Academy, where you're going to learn all the different things in 8 weeks, all the different things about how you build models from scratch, valuation, also understanding how to do the exam, the cost of the exam, the cost of actually the mock exam, the cost of the exam prep guide, the cost of all the past examination reviews, the cost of the program itself, and then the general cost of the community that you're going to join to answer all your questions. All of this at a hugely discounted rate. So click here to see how you can benefit from this wonderful experience, and let's join for the next academy and the next cohort. I'll see you in the next cohort.
My name is Ajibola Abiodun, and I currently work as an investment associate at Black Iron Capital. The major reason why I wrote for the FMA course was strictly because of the value and the money. So first, in terms of the value, the course provided more than just a platform to write the exam. I was able to learn modeling from the scratch itself. And also there are some other additions to the courses that made it very, good value for money. And in terms of the money aspect, right? So it's more of like a scholarship, and I'm sort of paying for something worth about $2,000 at a ridiculous amount. And I just had to jump on it. And in terms of my expectations, I wanted to learn modeling, right? And I've been doing it for a while now. And I think one of the things that I learned, for example, were in terms of maybe setting my printer, in terms of making my model printable, trying to, work around with Volva and all those sort of things. So those really, helped me. And in terms of my current role, fortunately, I think immediately after the exam, for example, I had one particular project I had to work on, and I had to sort of implement a couple of the things that I learned. So it's made my model more professional in terms of its look and feel. And I think that the course itself has sort of greatly increased my financial modeling skills. And for my general experience at the academy, so I would say this is beyond just a modeling course, right? So I got to meet wonderful people. So for example, I met Baba Tokwe, who is one of our instructors. I also had like a couple of colleagues like Evelyn, which we sort of practice for 2 weeks. We're practicing every day, and we are staying in touch till today. So if you are there and you are looking for, you are trying to make that decision, I think you need to make that decision to enroll for this course, because it's going to be one of the best things that, happen to you in the long run. Thank you.